Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. So today's video is going to be a review of Brittany Runs a Marathon. So it comes out on the 23rd in the US. Actually, it's a bit longer for us in the UK. It is in November. So hold on till then. I don't know if this kind of classified as like a spoiler review, but the script is pretty simple. Like the title pretty much gives it away. It is about Brittany, who is the main character, who basically runs a marathon. If you watch the trailer, again, it basically gives away the whole plot of the film, which is Brittany. She's like the undesirable, underachieving fat girl, and she goes to the doctors in hopes of getting some Adderall, but the doctor actually tells her that she will improve the quality of her life if she loses weight. Then she starts running, and then she ends up joining a running group, and then her goal is to run a marathon, and at the end of the movie she achieves that. So it's a pretty simple plot really, and then obviously in the film you see her journey from the beginning till the end, and kind of like her weight loss journey and how she changes her life around. And that's pretty much the journey of the film. See, it is kind of billed as a comedy. It's billed as a comedy drama. I've seen some people saying, oh, so this is like another Fat Boy Run. I definitely think it's a different type of film. Run Fat Boy Run is, I feel like it wasn't really a comedy drama. It was just a straight comedy. So it was just laughs all around. There is some funny moments and laughs in this film, but I'd say it's more on the drama side. So obviously, because it is billed as a comedy drama, did I think that the film was funny? I feel like there was some funny moments. There's definitely times where there was jokes there and I didn't laugh, but other people were laughing, and I was just kind of like, is that really that funny? But I feel like it's a more kind of like mature, older audience humour. So, and the audience that I was with was a kind of older audience, kind of like just eyeing it up. I'd say about like the average age was about 35. Maybe that's why I didn't get the humour. But there was definitely some funny moments. There was definitely some relatable moments in there in terms of like functioning adult life, like functioning dating apps, things like that. The morning commute, there's this little scene of like the morning commute, like trying to get on the train. That was quite funny and quite relatable. There was a lot more funny moments at the start than at the end. At the end, it's just started to get really quite sad and downbeat. Obviously, when you watch the film, or if you watch the film, you'll know why. But near the end, it started to get a bit sad, a bit soppy. It was just kind of like, can we throw a joke in here? Like, you know, I kind of want to laugh. Because before I watched the film, I just thought it was going to be like a Run Fat Boy Run, like something that was like heavily comedic. But it definitely, the comedic and upbeat moments definitely were less and less as it got to the end of the film. And then it was called more kind of like a drama. I definitely say it was a drama with comedic elements rather than it being a hybrid comedy and drama. But let me know what you think. If you've watched it, did you think that it was funny? Did you get the humour? Or did you feel like some of the humour was a bit off or wasn't your taste? And then obviously with the key storyline, we do see her lose weight, and then like the effects that has on her. We definitely see like kind of elements of maybe, we kind of see elements of body dysmorphia kind of, well, that's what I interpreted was those kind of bits where you see like really nice intimate shots of her kind of like looking at her body and assessing her body, and I feel like there was elements of kind of like body dysmorphia within that. And then obviously when she does lose weight, she starts to get more male attention. Obviously in the beginning of the film, she wasn't really getting the male attention that she wanted. And yeah, she starts eating healthy, and she doesn't really want to eat unhealthy foods, and she feels guilty for like being seen in like a fast food place. So I feel like it was a kind of interesting take on kind of like a weight loss journey. I do feel like it was still a bit male gazy. 9 out of 10 times, I can tell when it is a male writer that's written a female character, or a female writer that's written a male character, because it did feel a bit kind of like what he would think the weight loss journey would be for a female. I did like the shots of the body dysmorphia and stuff like that, but I just feel like some of the stuff was a bit for me, like especially when say for instance that scene where she went to go get like fast food or whatever, and she saw one of her running buddies, and she kind of looked like she looked very guilty about being seen there, when I feel like if she was like losing weight and running, what is a small little takeaway what is a small takeaway if you're still kind of like well, I guess she was losing weight, but like, I just feel like that was made to be such a big deal. I wouldn't think like but then again, I'm not a bigger girl, like I'm quite slim. Like, I don't feel like that needed to be made. That I don't think that in real life that would have been that big of a deal if somebody had, if you were like losing weight and somebody saw you getting a takeaway, like if you were still running and stuff, like, and still like, they had seen you before eating salad, like, what's the little takeaway? And obviously Gretchen, she kind of plays, obviously her friend Gretchen, I'll talk about her, I'll go into more detail about her later. The whole argument that they had when she was like, you'll always be the fat girl and you'll just gain the weight back and stuff like that. In the story, they're both nearing 30. I just feel like that is just kind of like an unrealistic argument that would happen between them. I feel like at that age, women would be mature enough not to kind of fat shame in an argument. Like, I just feel like that wasn't a realistic argument between these two grown-ass women. I just feel like that wasn't very realistic. And then also with her, obviously that scene where she goes home after she breaks her ankle, and they have like she has like, there's another, this is when she's already lost the weight. Somebody comes around and they have a fat girlfriend, and she basically fat shames her and like says all this horrible stuff. Again, I'm just thinking like, I'm so confused right now. Is she projecting? What is it? Like, I just feel like somebody who like literally last month maybe was not as big as her, as big as the other character, literally just had an argument with your friend about this. I just feel like it wouldn't be realistic for her to have said that to her. What did you think about that scene when, the person who was fat becomes the fat shame? And I feel like it was just done purely as a device to get to the whole speech that the fat woman said when she was like, I feel your pain, but I love myself and I've accepted myself. I feel like it was just literally a bridge to get to that scene where it didn't really need to be like, it could have just been like, how are you so happy? How are you so confident? And then it could have got to that. All of this, the person who was fat becomes fat shamer. I was just like, whoa, like, okay, like this is a bit unnecessary. But let me know what you thought. Do you feel like that was a good scene, or did you feel like it was a bit unnecessary? So kind of moving more onto the writing, as I said before, it was a simple script. It was a simple plot. The writer, Paul Izzo, I think that's how you pronounce it. But the director who also wrote it, obviously I already said it was a simple plot, it's a simple film. It's from the title is quite predictable. You kind of know what's going to happen, and halfway through the film you kind of know how it's going to end. You kind of, in the beginning, it kind of makes it seem like it's all about Brittany's weight loss journey and her journey to running the marathon. But then after that whole scene where, she becomes a fat shamer herself, the conversation that she has with her sister's husband, who is the father figure in her life, he basically says, oh, it's not about you losing weight, it's about you taking responsibility for yourself. And she's like, yes, I know. And that bit kind of confused me, because I feel like this, if that's the case, if it's, I feel like it was, and that bit confused me, and I feel like there was like mixed messages going on, because even after that scene, a lot of the film was focused on her weight loss journey, and it wasn't even like, oh, I want to run the marathon. It was like, obviously she's on the scale. I don't know, I think there was one point where she actually gained weight, and she was like pushing herself to lose the weight before the marathon. So I feel like it was about weight loss. So much of the imagery and the plot points to weight loss. But then what? So that's my question. What do you think the director was trying to say? Do you feel like it is about weight loss? And what do you think? Do you feel like the film is about weight loss, or do you feel like it is about responsibility, or do you feel like they coincide with each other? So her losing weight, she says she wants to be treated like a lady. When she starts losing weight, and she's still kind of got hang-ups about herself, she's still not sure if people find her attractive. Almost as if like for some of the film, I feel like it was kind of like she still had that mentality that she was unattractive, even though losing weight in society, she was deemed as more attractive because she had lost the weight, but in her head she still had she was still living within her undesirable self. And she does talk about, she does want to be treated like a lady, and that she has noticed that she is getting a lot more male attention, and that she enjoys that, and she enjoys being perceived as attractive, like by society's standards. And another thing that I kind of annoyed me was that I don't even think she was that big to start off with. When before she started running, I don't even think she was that big. I'm very aware there is still kind of like, the slimmer you are, the better you are treated in society. But I don't think she was she was that fat at that point where it's kind of like people treat you differently. I don't think she was that big to start off with. But let me know what you think. Do you feel like she was like big? Would you classify her as big? Or do you feel like she wasn't really that big off with? Obviously there was a clear transformation, but I just feel like she really wasn't that big to start off with. She really wasn't that big to start off with. And let me know what you think. Do you feel like she was at that point where she would be kind of like shunned from society, or like not seen as a desirable woman? She was kind of like, an average bigger girl. I wouldn't say she was like obese or morbidly obese. I feel like at that level, that's when you kind of see people like treating you as a lesser human. I feel like at that stage that would happen, but at her stage, not so much. But let me know what you think. Obviously, I'm not big. I am slim. So yeah, let me know what you think. In terms of the acting, definitely, obviously, Gillian Bell basically just carried the whole film on her ankles. Like literally the whole film. Like I feel like her performance was so strong that the other characters were like just overshadowed. Like sometimes I'd forget that they were actually in the film. I feel like he focused too much on Brittany's character, that the other characters, in contrast to her, look very underdeveloped. Literally kind of just like sprinkled with in the story, and lacked a lot of nuance. Like especially Catherine, she had like such a backstory. Like she just divorced, she was a recovering opioid addict, she had separated from her husband, she was fighting for custody, she had lost them, and it kind of just like, we didn't really see much of that. It's kind of just like we heard it rather than we saw it. We didn't really see her kind of develop as a character. It kind of felt like it was just like, this is Catherine. By the way, she's separated from her husband and she is a recovering opioid user and she's getting her life back together. So yeah, it would have been nice to see more of that kind of like develop on screen rather than it just being information that we know. Jaren, I guess that's just pretty straightforward character, like just a funny kind of love interest. Gretchen, her character annoyed me because it was underdeveloped. I think I kind of talked about it before, but she was kind of like the skinny, conceited friend who is kind of jealous, well, portrayed as jealous of Brittany kind of getting her back together, and almost as if the trope of where, you know, the skinny girl has the bigger friend and she has her so that she looks better. She keeps her around because she makes her look so much better than she is, kind of thing. I feel like that was the kind of vibe I was getting that the director was trying to portray. Obviously, they have that argument again. I just feel like that was such an unrealistic, immature argument, and a very like kind of male focused on what they think a female argument would be. And then after that, you know, after that they see each other on the train, and Brittany is just very cold and aloof to her, but then we don't see her again after that. So then it's kind of like, what, they've been friends for so long. She obviously tried to extend an olive branch. Yes, she didn't apologise, but as friendship goes, sometimes you have that stubborn friend, and I feel like that's not the way a friendship would end, especially if these are two women nearing 30. Like if they were like teenagers, early 20s, okay, but nearing 30, I feel like in real life it would have ended a bit more amicably than that, or perhaps it would have the olive branch would have been an opportunity for them to get together and then talk it out, and then for Gretchen to apologise. But it just feels like Gretchen was just the kind of stock character. Again, just kind of put that as a bridge, like she is the jealous friend and she is this conceited person who is like on Instagram all the time and tries to portray this perfect life. She's not that perfect. But then we don't really get much development with her or any like kind of like background information on her. So that was kind of like a bit disappointing, really. Not kind of seeing the development of Gretchen characters. Like obviously she's like the mean girl, but I still would have liked to have seen some character development with her, and I feel like her being there was kind of just like unnecessary. It kind of just feels like they just kind of forgot about her. Like they got to the end of the script and they were like, you know, oh crap, we forgot about Gretchen, but they just didn't bother to. They just thought, oh, you know, she's not that important of a character anyway. Like I'm sure no one will notice that she kind of just disappeared, but I noticed. What do you think? Do you feel like it was just like that was her time to leave the film, or do you feel like the character was ignored? And I feel like that was kind of like a lot of the characters didn't really have nuance to them. I feel like the only character that we kind of got to know well was Brittany, despite her not being the only character in the film. Yes, she's the main cast, but the way that she's kind of like, you kind of only just remember her performance. I feel like that's a bit of an issue because it's not like this was like an Oscar award winning film where it's kind of like her acting just like blew out of the water. I feel like her acting was so good because the director had taken so much time with her and kind of forgotten about the other actors, and I feel like he wrote these characters, these interesting characters. We've got like an older woman who's not married, she's separated, she's got her own business, she's a recovering opioid addict. We've got an East Asian supporting character, we've got a South Asian boyfriend, we've got a gay character, And I feel like it was all written in as if like those identities that are rarely represented in the mainstream was enough to kind of brush over the lack of character development. I feel like that's what went on there. What do you think? Do you feel like Gillian was just such a good of an actor that the other actors would just fade into the background? Or do you feel like there was a lack of character development there? So, wrapping it up. I do feel like it was a decent film. I don't think it was amazing. I've seen a lot of people saying it was inspiring. It wasn't particularly inspiring to me, but I can see why other people might find it inspiring. But what I will say is that it did make me want to start running again. I actually was like a runner. I used to do like I used to compete in cross country, and I've just been lazy. Like I haven't been inspired to change my diet. I'm still gonna enjoy the trash that I've been eating this summer, but I've definitely made me actually want to start running. If anything, I think you'll definitely be inspired to go running after watching this film. I definitely think they portrayed the whole kind of running community really well. Obviously we see the journey of her like not wanting to go running, and then her actively actually enjoying running and being a part of, and not just being a part of the running community, but actually enjoying running. And it is such a good feeling, and it made me remember the feeling of running. But you just feel so good about yourself and your body after you've went running. Like it's just such a good feeling once you've had a really good run. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm dusting off my running shoes, and I think either this weekend or next weekend I'm gonna start running again. So overall, like I said, I think it was a decent film. I think it's definitely more suitable, I think, for an older audience, probably about 25 plus. I feel like an older audience would relate to it more than a younger audience. And I'd give it a solid, I'll give it overall a rating of 3.5. I do think that the script could have been a bit more developed, and I feel like there should have been a bit more time for character development of the supporting characters. Gillian Bell was absolutely brilliant, and it would have been nice if the supporting characters were like on par with that as well. I feel like that would have improved the film. Cinematography, I really liked the intimate shots of when Brittany is kind of like assessing her body and kind of like almost like it's scrutinizing her. I feel like those were really good shots. Like those were shots that I'd like note down and be like, if I was shooting a film, I would want to repeat that. And also when she does run the marathon, I feel that was a kind of like immersive experience. Like you kind of feel like you're there cheering her on and running with her in the marathon. But yeah, let me know what you think. Were you inspired by this film, and in what way, if you were inspired by the film? And let me know if you didn't find it inspiring. And also, I'd really love to hear like the perspective of somebody who is a fat person who has watched the film, and somebody who was fat, or somebody who has gone through a weight loss journey who has watched the film. Because I kind of feel like, again, and what do you think the overall message of the film was? Do you feel like it was a weight loss film, or do you feel like it was about taking responsibility? Yeah, and let me know how you'd rate the film. Yeah, I do think it was an interesting take on like kind of like a weight loss journey, and I haven't really seen a film like it in the mainstream. Obviously, I feel like it is different to Run Fat Boy Run. So yeah, it was a quite interesting film. So yeah, obviously it comes out tomorrow in the US. It comes out on the 1st of November in the UK. So it is a bit of a wait for us in the UK. Sorry about it. So let me know if you are going to go see it, if you haven't yet. And let me know what you thought of it if you have seen it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. I'm on 313 subscribers. And my next short-term goal is to get to 320. So if you could subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Bye.